Welcome to Venture Podcast, presented by VNTR, the world's leading investors community, the place to learn from VCs and capital allocators.
We've been always pioneers in the space of new technology and entrepreneur for close to 17 years now. So a long journey together building many business. I'm sure we'll get more into it. Maybe what is Sandbox? If you're not familiar, we are one of the largest decentralized virtual world where anyone can make 3D content, full games, or all sort of experiences using our no-code game maker, Ubisoft, Terminator, Attack on Titan, and more that are part of our platform. And we also have over 1,500 user-generated content games live on the platform already.
Hey guys, welcome to VNTR podcast, and today we are hosting Sebastien Borget from Paris. Sebastien, welcome. Thanks for joining us, and we would love to learn about your journey as an entrepreneur and as an investor. Please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, happy to be here. Thank you, Yuri. So my name is Sebastien Borget. I'm the COO and co-founder of the Sandbox. I've been a serial entrepreneur together with my business partner, Arthur Madrid. We've been always pioneers in the space of new technology and entrepreneur for close to 17 years now. So a long journey together building many business. I'm sure we'll get more into it. Maybe what is Sandbox? If you're not familiar, we are one of the largest decentralized virtual world where anyone can make 3D content, full games, or all sort of experiences using our no-code game maker and truly own this creation thanks to the use of blockchain technology and NFTs. We've grown with over 6 million users with a wallet, driving many new people for the first time into Web3 because we have over 400 major brands in music, in entertainment, celebrities like Snoop Dogg, Warner Music, The Walking Dead, Ubisoft, Terminator, Attack on Titan, and more that are part of our platform. And we also have over 1,500 user-generated content games live on the platform already. I'm also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance. It's an association that's promoting for adoption of blockchain technology within the video game industry. We're proud to count now close to 600 members that we showcase around the world at various events, what they are building in gaming using blockchain, crypto, and more.
Amazing. Yeah. So let's step back to the beginning of your journey, in the gaming industry, or when did you start with building your own companies, and how was it to get started?
Well, as soon as I graduated from my engineering and network school, I was doing this exchange program in Hong Kong back then, and my co-founder and CEO Arthur Madrid reached out to me because as a geek, I was already one of the few open source developer in peer-to-peer technology. Back then in 2007, I was contributing toward the BitTorrent protocol with various source codes. And his first company was providing a video on demand solution where people could download high definition video of sport event, music clips, and full movies using this same BitTorrent peer-to-peer technology. So he found me. I started to work with him remotely. As soon as I graduated, I came back to France and we continued that journey. That business got acquired a year later by a CDN network in Europe. Then in 2009, we co-founded another startup together, which was a service where people could upload online their photo, their music, their video in the cloud, before it was called the cloud, and stream it from anywhere, building their virtual library. So before Netflix, before Spotify, you could have access to all your online media content from anywhere. We sold that company 2 years later as well. And then in 2011, again, we've been pioneer, this time in mobile gaming. I always wanted to make my own video game since I've been a teenager and I had my first console, the Super Nintendo. And I felt like smartphone, Apple, and Android really came at the right time. So anyone could become an entrepreneur again and make games from his garage with a single person or two people, small teams. unlike like console video game production, which costs hundreds of millions, require like specific talent and hardware. It's a very high barrier to entry. So we entered at that space. We were one of the first studios doing like mobile free-to-play game with brands, Garfield, Snoopy, Adam's Family, and the first Sandbox game. So not only I was passionate about the idea of make my own game, but still like how can anyone make their own game without any programming? And smartphone has this magic thing that just by the touch of the finger on the screen, things react instantly. So dropping 2D pixel on the screen, making them react with loads of physics, and then adding a lot of elements and sharing that creation was the beginning of Sandbox back then. It grew into a large success. We had $40 million, 70 million player-made creation over 8 years. And fast forward, we've been acquired in 2019 by Animoca brand, a larger gaming company and now Web3 investor from Hong Kong. We are part of the Animoca brands group and family today. And we, in 2019, we decided to rebuild Sandbox from scratch using blockchain technology and NFTs, to empower the creator to create, to own, and to monetize their content. And since then, it's like this autonomous companies that raised in July 2019 a first seed round of $4.5 million with investors like Square Enix, True Global Venture, Animoca, Hashed, and so on. And then raised a new round, Series B, in November 2021, adding 91 million on that fundraise. And later in 2024, raised again a new round and became a unicorn. Still part of the Animoca brand group family. This is a multinational company that now counts 350 people, and that I'm excited to continue being part of, like to drive like the vision of the metaverse and to build like this platform that you see now as Sandbox today.
That's really interesting. And do you like games yourself? Do you still play games as part of your research these days?
Yeah, I love games, definitely. I think like I got a little bit accustomed to like liking games, not just for the fun part, but because like, wow, this game is so great. How is it made? So I guess like why I chose to be an entrepreneur or an engineer was like, I wanted to understand how things are made so I could deconstruct them to copy and do better. So that kind of lead me like every game I look, I analyze, okay, what's the first 10 seconds of the game? What's the first minute? How do they onboard the player? When do they make me pay? And like, why do I want to spend? Like, what's the great content, the great idea, the UI, the UX, the FTW, the juice, all of those things that makes a great product. So I always benchmark first before I actually play the game for myself. But yeah, I do love gaming as well.
And do you have a favorite game of all time?
I guess it depends. I probably spent a lot of my teenage days on like Counter-Strike and things like that. So like multiplayer shooter, player versus player is what excites me. But when I look today, I have the chance to play on Sandbox and discover a lot of fresh and original content. And those are things that I couldn't have imagined would become game when I started, or when I was a teenager, or when I started like entrepreneur. So I love as well the creativity, the diversity, the fact that every day there's something new and different that I can come try and explore, rather than like always playing the same competitive game. And that's what the world needs. The world needs more diversity, more creativity, and to onboard more creators and players in general.
And Pixowl, that was the mobile gaming, right?
Yeah, that's what our mobile game company that we co-founded in 2011. Yes. So
you started initially as a developer for other brands, right? You mentioned Snoopy.
Well, we've always been our own publisher and developer of games, to the exception of Snoopy. Like at the beginning, we were. It was a work for hire mission where we were developing it, and Activision was the publisher. But quite an interesting story here, maybe worth sharing for entrepreneurs and investors. The game was doing sufficient revenue, going on great. We were just a few months after the launch. And from one day to another, Activision Blizzard decided to shut down a whole mobile gaming division. So from one day to another, like they fire, the US way, you just learn that you have no more job by the end of the day. Still hundreds of people. And among those people, there were like the team that we were working with for like this mobile game version of Snoopy Town Tale. That was the name of the mobile game. And so we were very afraid because we were building that game as a work for hire that allows us to keep on the payroll all the artists, all the developer needed for this kind of game for several months ahead. And now there's a lot of uncertainty, like who will take over? Will there be anyone? Will it continue? Will they kill it? And so on. But the thing that we've learned is actually like when there's challenge are also like when the best opportunities. So actually we came out to them with a proposal. So we want to take over the license. We want to keep that game going on by ourselves. We will publish it. And because there was nobody on their side who will be taking over, etc., it's actually a burden on their side to sit on this license contract and do nothing on it. It's losing money every time. So instead giving it away at certain price and like moving on fast was actually a very beneficiary for them. And so we aligned new interest. We were able to take the contract to continue publishing the game, not affect the player at all with any downtime, and actually make it a very successful franchise that's still going on today, generating revenue for Peanuts and ourselves. And the kind of the same story with Sandbox. Originally, the first Sandbox that launched on mobile in 2012, we had a publisher because we were really new in the mobile game industry. We didn't have all the contact with Apple and Google to be featured. So we kind of wanted to learn our way through that. So we took a publisher. We got the featuring, we learned how they worked, etc. And then we also found at some point they were taking 30 to 50% of our revenue away without being super hungry all the time to get us more users, more players, more featuring. So at the end of the day, I was doing that more myself than the publisher. I got frustrated, and we also decided to buy back the contract from that publisher to handle everything ourselves. At that moment, it was a bit scary because we were spending several hundred of thousands of dollars to buy back the publishing rights before we actually cashed in. Well, that was probably one of the best decisions we made because in 1 month we made that money back again, and then like we kept 50% of the revenue back directly to us. So interestingly, again, like there's some aspect, I guess, of that journey, which now as we speak, I remember about, that were like life-changing moments in the path forward for like us as a mobile game company and for the Sandbox franchise.
Did you raise any funding, or was it hard to raise for gaming companies?
So, it's very hard to raise for gaming companies. Yes. I would say like the general mindset is like mobile gaming is a very hit-driven business. Not only you need to have the great tech, the ability to produce great entertainment product that also will need to monetize. So it's not just making a cool, fun, interactive product for yourself. It's actually finding something for a market and using data and user acquisition with the CPI versus LTV approach to actually make top grossing titles. Very few VC understand gaming because they don't know like what are the ingredients among the founders around the gameplay that will enable those games to succeed or fail. 99% of the game actually fail on the market. I think like the number of games that don't pass soft launch is close to 1/2 now. And the rules of the game keep changing now. Like it's very hard to be profitable on user acquisition because you cannot target any more users because of all the new privacy laws that protect users that are in place. And we're in a post-COVID inflationist world where like people are spending less in entertainment. 2024 actually has been a quite terrible year in the gaming industry and in general tech sector and maybe in broader economy. All those gaming companies, Unity, Epic, Electronic Arts, Activision, they fired hundreds to thousands of people. Those people, they lose their job, they spend less into gaming, cost of acquisition increase, less spending, then the equation CPI versus LTV, if it fails, you need longer cash flow to survive and become profitable. And many game studios are no longer able to operate those games, which again, new challenge, new opportunity. So Web3 comes as a new opportunity for many developers who few years back were saying, why does it matter? Why should I care? I know exactly my recipe, my formula for monetization. Today, that recipe doesn't work anymore. So they are experimenting what they can do with new possibilities like Web3 to engage their audience, to acquire users, and to monetize, and to distribute the value in a different way than before. Before, it usually goes to the platform and the developer. With Web3, the value is distributed between all the stakeholders, which include your players, your creators, your holders of the NFT, and also the platform and the developers. So I think it's a more healthy model as well, if run well, and that can lead to like the future of gaming.
And you're constantly having to pivot, right? You say that these metrics don't matter anymore when certain parts of the market adapts, right?
I think you have to stay agile. Like there's one thing I learned as well is like there is data don't lie. So basically there's no kind of magic. If you soft launch a game, you work hard, you put your passion, your heart, your tears onto it, your sweat, and that game has like, 15% retention day one. No matter what you're going to do, everything you will implement, you'll get to 30%, but it's very hard to double your day one retention. Like, unless you have a very, very obvious issue, like the game is crashing constantly, so nobody can play. There's something wrong about it. And so you have to learn to let go. Okay, fail fast and then start a new project. That's the one thing I learned. The second is like, many people in the gaming industry, they are driven again by I just want to make the game I like to play. Instead of like analyzing, like I want to make a game that fits like a certain niche of audience, which is not yet addressed. And I will use data to actually build a gameplay that address that audience. And I will also use the data to rapidly decide if what I'm building makes sense or not. And if not, I will pivot or I will make sure that I build a certain expertise into what I'm creating. So I don't start over from scratch every time, and I start to have some efficiencies in my way to make game. Typically, the reason that previous mobile game company we made became able to work with Snoopy, with Adam's Family and other is because we built our own tech and engine, and we specialize ourselves into city builder and story-driven IP game, branded games. The fact that we don't have to restart from scratch all the stack to manage the content, to do the live ops, to do the in-app marketing, to do the targeted promotion, to create events in the game and so on. It's a lot of time that we save, so we can focus then more on the content and the fun and less on like rebuilding the key tech. And it also shows that as founders, we have a certain vision. We don't just do any random game. We found our niche market. We understand how to acquire users in that niche market and how to increase the monetization, which was like, I think the right, should be the right approach. So, and it's in general is my recommendation, like become expert in certain areas rather than trying to do everything and claim you're an expert while you don't have either the tech or the experience already of launching product and iterating through some data over it.
So you mentioned tech. There were so many technologies were developed for gaming, right? Like Unity and other engines.
Yes, today, yes.
What additional tech stack do you see that is missing for a new game developer?
Typically, game developer now they have a broad choice of engine. It can be Unity, Unreal. There's a few others, and like HTML5 driven kits, etc. Those allow you to create the gameplay, the game logic, etc. But what you need is sort of like content management system and player management system on top of it. Like if you want to update your game live to change the price, if you want to add a new item for a special promotion this weekend, if you think like traditionally, you will push an update on the App Store, you compile it, you package it, and you push it. It's a very inefficient way. Then you have to ship it, update, wait for the approval of the store, make sure that people install the update to see it. So what appears is like games as a service. Game as a service includes all the stack that allows you to manage the content, the players, the CRM, the marketing offer, the analytics and the data collection needed to target from an online dashboard and to update live your game. So there's a lot of solution now available for like handling your game as a service. But there wasn't before. So, and they come with a cost as well. So usually it's a cost based on the number of like unique user, monthly active and so on. So on our side, we decided to build our own tools and to manage that, which came down at a very small fraction of the cost. But I understand certain developers don't want to rebuild the whole stack, just want to focus on, I want to make the art, the graphic, stories, and that's it. And that's why game as a service is also an important part. And you can look at, PlayFab, the one that's also been acquired by Microsoft recently. Amazon provide one as well. So there's already a few that are very well spread and included now.
So if you were the investor head into gaming, what would you, like, let's say you're meeting with a studio that develops games. What are you looking for as an investor to invest in a gaming company?
I think the first thing is I always look at, the founders and the team. Like the first thing is I really believe in people, in my approach, like to help entrepreneurs and invest in their business. I want to know, like, okay, you want to make this game. Do you have the experience, or do you have the team and the right people in your team who've built this game? Or are you just a bunch of students coming out of school with a lot of dream, but no real world execution of it? Like, do you measure the challenge? Are you already familiar with everything I just mentioned before, the live ops, the analytics, the game as a service, etc., to operate your game and grow it? Then, if that validate and I feel confident, like I will review with you, what's your go-to market? Are you going to do a soft launch? How big of the soft launch? What data you collect to decide to trigger the different milestone? And are you, I'm trying to challenge them usually into like, okay, what will be your first MVP of soft launch version to understand how they think like they will validate or not their gameplay. Sometimes you put too many things already in an MVP. A lot of things that only are useful at day 3, day 7, day 30 at the user experience cost you a lot of time to develop. And if the day 1 doesn't work, because that's what you want to validate first, it's not useful to develop. I love, for me to invest in founders, either they are veterans, they've done many success, and so yeah, they can execute, the valuation is fine, and I understand their strategy, or they are new founders, but they have they have the right skills, or they have the right people in their team to deliver, and the right mindset. The mindset is about like they are ready to listen. Like, why would they take us as advisor or investor if basically they can say, I know everything, I know my way, I will do it all, and like, why I cannot give you any feedback, or if I give you any feedback, and we spend precious time together, there's nothing that comes out of it. Maybe I'm not the right fit for you. You only need the money. You don't really need a strategic partner or investor, or smart money, as they call it. And so, but I'm not the right fit for you, right?
So sounds like the threshold to build a game is much higher than building a regular startup, right? It's kind of
I wouldn't compare. I think every industry comes with a challenge, and that's the interesting part. Like, you will find a lot of like common denominator, no matter like you work in enterprise, in like SaaS, in blockchain, in DeFi, in gaming or Web3 gaming. And that's where I think like it's interesting to have those shared experience to understand and always have this kind of appetite to like, how can I keep growing? What can I apply? And the recipes of success. The other thing I was thinking maybe of gaming, because in Web3 gaming, there's a few other criteria that I would apply. Specifically because Web3 gaming involves digital assets and sometimes as well a cryptocurrency or utility token. So tokenomics behind. I also look like, why are you bringing decentralization? Why does it matter so much for you as a founder to have decentralization in your game and give power to the player? If it's only a fundraising instrument, for me, it's already like, I don't think you realize the challenge you have ahead of you. A token is a great fundraising instrument at some time, but comes with a lot of responsibility. It's a full product to manage. It has its own roadmap, and you have costs related to it for security, auditing, market making, listing on exchange, and so on. So it's a lot of things they need to consider. The second is like, well, if certain tokenomics are very unfriendly to the team and founders because they're being driven by investors who are looking at short-term exits. Some KOLs and influencers that maybe are not sharing the same interest as a team. And usually I make them realize, look, when you allow your investors to exit within 6 months, where it will take you 5 years for you as a founder to build, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So be careful. And if you don't change that, I will not join you as an investor because I already know where it ends. I've seen it so many times before. You need to have long-term investors that will follow you, support you like they were equity investor, because it's going to be a longer journey when you have token involved and you want to build the product, ship the product, then introduce the token. Not the opposite way, not introduce the token without a product and a community of users before. Then it gets even worse. And all those things, like it's important to hear in conversation. And sometimes like I can miss opportunities because of that. But I also want, again, I always think the entrepreneur first. And because that's what I am, I'm also right into it, into building Sandbox and supporting like game creator. I want to show what the technology can help to bring, and so they need to realize those aspects as well.
So at a certain point, you started wearing the investor hat, right? So it'd be great to speak about that and kind of what you're investing in, what's your thesis, etc.
I think I really never wear the investor hat. It's more like I've been diving into this entrepreneur Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 space for 16, 17 years. And I've been next to other entrepreneurs with great ideas. Some of them I knew had that capability to deliver and execute on those ideas. And I always wanted to support the other entrepreneur. That's my main vision. Like I don't see myself as an investor with a specific exit strategy, return strategy, and so on. I'm here to help the founders. And that's that's my first approach. And that's how I still see myself today. Like I want to help you to success. I will learn. I will share my experience and I'll share my network. Maybe I will help you shape your product, your growth strategy, marketing. And at the same time, I will learn probably a lot from you, discovering a new space where I don't have the material time to execute, even though I have the interest for it. So it's a great exchange in general. What I'm looking for, generally speaking, I love beyond gaming, because gaming, it's in fun and entertainment, it's harder to define if there's a utility and so on behind. In other line of business, I'm looking first at things that I consider I would use myself personally or for Sandbox that helps to acquire users, to grow the ecosystem, to onboard more people. Then I would definitely look at the overall market potential, the ability to execute. And so recently I've been, at the beginning, I was very involved and supportive toward like the first, Web3 game, the first blockchains, the first, wallet solution. And now like I'm looking, broadly at, it's been 3 years already, by the way. So I've been looking at AI solution that can have a real utility in game, in game production for, AI NPC, intelligent agent, content generation, 2D asset generation, 3D asset generation, AI solution for scanning documents, hundreds of documents and creating condensate reports for finance team or legal team. For example, that's the startup called Libertify. One startup called Palazzo, which like allows you to take any room and one click and allows you to redecorate it and facilitate like real estate seller to promote and people to project themselves into those apartments, for example, or future houses, for example. I've looked at solution like Carve.io that like integrate like user profile across different source of game to build your player reputation and allows them to have like a more consolidated overall data pool of players for user acquisition, marketing, discovery, and more. I've looked at also solution that facilitate the onboarding of new users into Web3. So like account abstraction, new wallet solution that are very accessible. And then in general as well, games that I felt like were raising the bar into the quality, the fun, the execution, and meet the standard of like Web2 games, so that they could definitely like onboard traditional gamers into the space and allow to, like, if they succeed, to grow the overall Web3 ecosystem for everyone.
So what sort of people are you looking to speak to? Are you looking to speak to early stage ventures, like, you know, mid stage, late stage? Right? What's your perfect kind of people to speak to?
I think I'm more like the early stage. Usually, if someone is already mid to late stage, it means they have already found their early investor, they're on a good track, they have their metric of success and so on. So they wouldn't look at bigger VC that will be part of their cap table and help them toward their future raise and exit. Me as an angel and founder, helping other founder, it's very early stage to seed stage. Sometimes there is not yet a product. Sometimes there is a product, but not yet monetization or community. We're just at this launch phase. That's probably the sweet spot. And it's also because I evolve in this space so much. When you see me at those conferences, we meet all the founders. Sometimes we're on stage together. They are the moment where actually I get inspired by others and I want to support them as well.
What is your position about gaming will create the Web3 adoption, right? It's kind of everyone is bullish about that only games can create mass adoption for Web3, and we should invest.
It was a very good conversation topic. I was talking in Dubai at the GuyTech conference. I think gaming and culture, so culture encompassing like entertainment, fashion, sport, music more broadly, will drive adoption because people want to interact with their favorite music artists, their favorite brand. They want to own, they want to have rewards, and those rewards, when they are delivered as digital assets that you can own in games and or other forms, I think it's really interesting and it reaches to more mainstream audience. For me, the gaming alone isn't sufficient to deliver the adoption. Like, it's a great support that indeed, if I play my game, if I spend hundreds of hours and hundreds of dollars creating my avatar, my profile, leveling up, acquiring my assets, at some moments, like if there is a possibility for me to resell it, to cash out some of the revenue, etc. Yes, the technology will become like very exciting and obvious. And so for me, it's user-generated content and the creator economy within gaming has a higher chance to drive that adoption of, because there is not only this motivation of revenue, of earning something, there is this motivation of like, this is my creation, so this is my content, so the notion of ownership is already impregnated into it. There is the ability to onboard new users for the first time toward that trend. So there's no friction to, oh, I don't want to create content because it's on blockchain. Nobody will say that. However, people still have some form of resistance. I don't want to play that game because it's on blockchain. And it's because there's been all this past, and it's normal in an industry that's maturing, game where like the quality of the experience was maybe not very fun, and the blockchain component of the game were too big, too highlighted versus the actual product that delivers to it.
So what's I know it's a big question, but what's the future of gaming, do you think? Do you think it's going to be like Ready Player One? Do you think it's going to get to that level ever? Or do you think we're going to see a complete different shift?
That's a great question. So generally, first, I think future of gaming relies in two core aspects. One is user-generated content. I don't see any game where like players will not be able to customize their avatars, their level, their whole map, make their own mode, etc. So game have turned into like live services platform, and now with user-generated content, they will live on forever thanks to the contribution of user, and that develop a whole economy on top of it. That's like also allowing those games to survive for 10 years, 20 years and more, like the largest MMOs, games like Second Life, Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, GTA, Sandbox, for example. The second is like, and still very early, that one, but I feel as well, like if game turns into like platform or even like full digital nation with their own economy, virtual economy, there should be a moment where they will also have governance. And so where, when I say power to the players will be able to vote on the decision of those games, like how the player status, the roadmap, the priority in development, the activities that should be driven to engage those. We've already seen certain games like that, the Star Citizen, the EVE Online. They have those communities, they gather a few times a year, they vote on decision and so on. But DAOs in Web3 introduce this level of governance in game that I think will pave the future, and I cannot wait to see in a few years from now. It started in Sandbox, for example. It's already in Decentraland and a few other decentralized games. How it will be applied broadly. Imagine Fortnite with a DAO where all the players decide the next update, the next content, the map design, the next feature, and so on. That can be really the next level of game changing. And then I think metaverse will play an important role and become more dominant back in the news and like tangible in the next 3 to 5 years. Sandbox is still active. We launched our alpha season 4. We have over 380,000 players in 4 weeks. So that's the highest number we ever had. Even people think it's a bear market and metaverse is dead. So that's really good news. You have companies like Epic and Fortnite, they still work on interoperability of assets and paving the way with their Fab marketplace toward like metaverse possibilities. But I don't think like the whole gaming industry is going to evolve only in one direction, which is like AAA cinematographic quality gaming production that requires super powerful hardware and computing. We also saw, very surprisingly, like the rise of hyper casual game, Telegram mini apps. We're 2024 and there's more players into Telegram mini apps than in GTA 5 or Fortnite. What the hell, right? Like, so actually it's really interesting. Like the gaming keep growing in audience. I think there's roughly 3 billion gamer. And if you want to reach 7 billion gamer, you need games for all tastes. And that means like having like even low graphic, really fast to enter, stupid clicker game, stupid graphic game, etc., just for the fun, the quick thrill, the little adrenaline. And at the same time, the more serious and expensive AAA production that takes 5 to 10 years to make and will, like GTA 6, that once it's out, I'm sure like will also on board consume a lot of people's time.
Do you foresee these large platforms implementing Web3 blockchain in their ecosystems? Like the Netflix games or the big players that you mentioned? Why don't they go to that direction?
I think they are going, like at the Blockchain Game Alliance, we have companies like Square Enix, Ubisoft, We Made Wemix. They are all exploring blockchain. Recently, during the Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai, we had someone from Rockstar, the head of digital content, who really talked openly about Web3 as a technology. He's interested. He didn't say we'll bring it into GTA 6, right? He said like we're going to explore it, how we introduce it, and from those, see how it applies broadly to other games. We're seeing as well EA has applied, some Nike has launched some components. So we're still in a phase of experimentation where like you're not ready to turn around your whole current business model that, makes your company earn billions of dollars overnight. So you launch those different experimentation, just like labs or innovation center, you see and you learn from it. And ultimately, maybe you launch new products, new services on top of it, rather than trying to force in existing games or product into this where they already have an economy in place, an infinite supply of content. So it's very hard to track as well provenance, scarcity, and so on. Instead, if you do it from the beginning.
What is your perspective on metaverse, right? It's kind of, that there was a big boom 3 years ago in the metaverse. Facebook rebranded to Meta. They were very bullish about metaverses, etc. You guys with Sandbox, one of the leading metaverses. So what are your projections for metaverse?
I think like the metaverse is far from dead. Actually, it keeps being built. It keeps having like companies like Roblox, Fortnite, Sandbox, even Meta is actually still building on it. Like the metaverse, success of the metaverse will come from the content, the product and technology, and the ecosystem. You need great content to drive on the audience and like retain them. And you need like the product as well to follow in terms of like the loading speed, the performance, the user experience, and so on. And so, probably in 2021, when Meta showed Horizon World, they didn't realize that, that's it was a little bit too early to really create the desire for people to enter. And there was no exciting content. There was no brand, there was no entertainment, and so on. Sandbox, we worked to onboard all those major brands. We're launching the seasons where we package 100 experience over 10 weeks. And among those 100 experience, we have 40 from top brands, 60 from user-generated content. And every week, one top brand invites you. So we've launched with Hell's Kitchen. We have Cut the Rope, Attack on Titan, Terminator, The Voice, Playboy, Care Bear, Smurf, music artists like Galantis, Jamiroquai that launched yesterday on Sandbox. So it's quite cool, and it brings a little bit of fun from this, from that, and then they all stay to explore and discover, and it builds up together. And it's true that 3 years ago, the technology of Sandbox was way different. It took a longer time to load. The quality of graphic was not great. The gameplay was more limited. There was not much multiplayer. So basically, people got to experience a bit too early a vision of the metaverse that was not convincing. It wasn't sufficient to convince them. Today, I think like people have already much more enjoyment when they enter Sandbox. They discover all the possibilities, the new graphics, the different gameplay, the multiplayer. They can do shooting, platforming, running, socializing, competing alone or with teams. They earn reward. Everything is smooth. It loads in 10 seconds. That's already much better in terms of experience. And this is normal. This is expected. I don't know if you remember smartphone. So every new major technological shift roughly takes 10 years. On smartphone, my iPhone, it used to be small. It used to, whenever I wanted to make a payment, I actually had to put the credit card number one by one. And then came Touch ID. So before Face ID was Touch ID. So I had to put still my thumb on it. It takes 2-3 years of iteration. That make it faster, but still a bit could have been better. And then Face ID came. And now like there's even like the wallet and touch, and nobody thinks about it anymore because it becomes so seamless. But think of the number of iterations it took to Apple to improve this whole user journey from like creating your account to making a payment in games, and like how easy it is now, and you don't even think about it. And that's, I guess, like the needed steps of improvement that we will see as well. Similarly, when people complain about the UX of wallet, yeah, it was ugly. It really was bad at the beginning. Now I think it's already much better. And I'm sure in 2 years from now, it would be fantastic. And so the same with metaverse as this technological shift. When we will look back at it, and the same with video gaming, when we look back at our retro games, first console, first PlayStation, and now today, sometimes I really feel old when I discover kids don't even know what 2D graphics were in retro gaming. Like they already were born with 3D, you know, so.
Is there a game that you wish existed right now?
Well, in game of life, I suppose, like you make it as realistic as possible of like the different social interaction and the trading and exchanging across nations.
How do you like the Vision Pro and where all the VR headsets are taking us, right? So lots of enthusiasts were quite passionate about the device and the whole experience, but it's still too early as well, from what I see.
Well, first of all, like it's because the distribution of the device is quite limited. Like it was launched only in the US. It's a quite expensive device. So even if you build on it, like there's not a lot of users ready to consume your content. So always it will start slow in this way. With every new technology comes like the need to understand what's the best working form factor of entertainment form for adapted to this device. I guess it's going to take long, and probably I don't know if it will ever happen, because I understood Apple will stop selling it for this to push through, even though like I was very impressed by the quality of the graphic, where like the resolution is so sharp that like basically you cannot distinguish anymore what's a virtual asset from what a physical asset in your surrounding environment. It really blended reality, physical and virtual, into one reality. But this, I guess it's not convenient enough yet toward like carrying it over a long time. And it's not widespread enough yet as well.
So it's challenging to develop because
it is. And even VR, you think like, how many years did it take VR to reach a point where you think like, all right, there is the distribution is wide enough now that yes, there's game that can reach 10 million people and make good revenue back, right? So, and a lot of VR headsets end up being not used and sitting and taking the dust, unfortunately as well. And what brings people back to put their VR headsets? You know, it's also a bit difficult sometimes.
And I guess the last question that we always like to ask is, obviously someone like you, they do a lot of stuff. You know, you're always very busy. How do you maintain a healthy work-life balance?
Well, first of all, I'm very passionate about what I'm doing. I enjoy it. So it doesn't feel like work in a way. Like when, you know, like you do what you love, I think it helps mentally. I try to do sports in the morning or still on the weekend. So when I'm traveling, I try to swim in the morning. So that already gives me a bit of energy and good practice for my body. And then after I get into work, and then after I finish work, sometimes I either I read book or I watch movies, or change a bit my mind until I go to sleep. So I have that. And then, well, I have the chance, like on the weekend, it's family time. So, well, I try to not touch or follow or reply too much over the weekend and mark a real break. So my family sees me. If not, they don't really see me in the week already. So I think that's right now. It's a time where like also the priority is understood is for the business to grow. And that's an opportunity that window of opportunity that might not last forever as well. So then after I will be more laid back and like back to the family when the business is more into auto run mode.
And you also have, like I see you're art collector and kind of, is it also something that you're passionate about? You launched a gallery in Paris. So is it also kind of a way to take your mind out of the work?
Yeah, as you can see, like I'm being very inspired in my office. This is like a little museum. So I love to also host people there, collecting. It started like at Sandbox, we collected digital art and NFTs in general, because we said like to be part of an ecosystem, to understand Web3, you need to buy NFT yourself. You need to own NFT. You need to own tokens. And so, the best way to also like use those tokens is to put them into the different world and experience that we're building. So people can also experience and discover art in the most unexpected place. You take an emerging artist, you show them in the most popular experiences so they get discovered and you inspire them. Many people might not notice, but some might just stop, watch, and then start to think. And I think that's kind of like that is the power of art. It makes us reflect, pause, take a moment, a different perspective on the world and on the things and how we see them. And that passion extended from like collecting digital art. So Sandbox has a collection of over 10,000 NFTs to displaying them into our office. And then some of those digital art, they also came with physical art, digital. So also displaying them in the office. And then there was so many. So I said, all right, I will create in Paris this digital art gallery called Artverse, which is located in the 3rd arrondissement, Le Marais, which is really this cultural hub of Paris. And I will use the space not only just as a digital gallery, but as a culture house where like people can run events in Web3, in gaming, in AI, in fashion, in design, and at the same time be inspired by the artists that are currently on exhibition in the space. And we started it since last June with my co-founder Arturo Madrid, and we're happy to host great global artists. Some of them are very well-known digital artists doing for the first time their physical, and vice versa, which is also an interesting way to bridge different communities and audience to be interested into digital art.
Amazing.
Sebastien,
thank you very much for joining us. You shared a lot of amazing insights. I think it will be very valuable for our followers. Thank you very much. Sorry to miss you next week in Lisbon.